Good afternoon, everyone. We are now live in Autodesk Community Philippines Facebook page and YouTube channel for quick start to AutoCAD, no? So, sa ating mga viewers, no, please do comment your full name or your school name or company name, no, para sa ating attendance check. And huwag pong kalimutang i-download ang exercise file, no? So sa mga hindi pa nakaka-download ng exercise file, please do download na po while we are waiting, no? Ayan, nasa ating comment section ng ating exercise file. So, paki-download po and huwag pong kalimutang mag-register, no? So, para naman sa inyong certificate yon. Okay? So, kailangan nyo mag-register for your certificate. Ayan. So, and sana naka-download na rin kayo ng inyong AutoCAD, no? So, kung wala man kayong version 2021, okay lang. Pwede nyong gamitin kung ano yung available version na meron kayo. Okay? And inviting you, sa mga hindi pa nakaka-join, no? Inviting everyone to join Autodesk Community Philippines in Meetup, no? So, kailangan po nandito kayo dahil dito kayo magme-message pag para ma-claim ang inyong certificate, no? So, please take note po dyan sa meetup. Please do join Autodesk Community Philippines. And also, we are in Facebook, inviting you to join Autodesk Community Philippines and CAD Community Asia for our future training, no? And we are also in LinkedIn, Autodesk AutoCAD User Group Philippines. Sa mga hindi pa nakaka-join, inviting you to join now. Okay, so ayan, habang nagda-download kayo ng exercise file and nagre-register kayo, start na natin ang ating workshop, no? So we'll start by the national anthem, prayer, and opening remarks.
Bayang pag-ibig, kay nasang silanganan, alam ng puso, sa dibdib mo'y buhay. Lupang hinirang, tuyot ka ng makiting, sa manlulupi, di ka pasisihin, sa dagat at bundok, sa simuyan, sa langit mong lubong, na nilagang tula at awis na paglayang minamahal. Ang isat ng wataw at mo'y tapo ay nagmilingin. Ang bituin at araw ng kailang kamay magdidinig. Lumarang araw ng buwan at ipagsinta buhay ay langit sa Pilipinas. Ang nilaya ng pagkay mga hapit ng mamatay ng langit sa
Dear God, thank you for the opportunity to meet together. Please help us to come together to make this institution reflect your kingdom. Breathe life into our ideas and decisions. Help us build a team that has love and respect at its heart. Give us the strength to continue working for your kingdom in this time of pandemic. Lord, come give us the inspiration to be the best we can be. May we be a shining example of your goodness and truth within, wherever we are. Inspire our thoughts, discussions, and ideas, and continue to remind us that all that we do here today, all that we accomplish, is for the pursuit of truth for the greater glory of you. We ask these things in your name. Amen.
Okay, so to give us his opening remarks, I'll be calling Christian Paul Guerrero. He is the ano no from Association of Safety Practitioners of the Philippines Inc. Mapua University Student Chapter. Good afternoon, Paul.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you to each one of you for being here with us today. We are very pleased to be able to welcome those who join us today. Before we get started, I would like to express my sincere appreciation to all of you who generously help us make this event come together to become a success. Most importantly, Autodesk Community Philippines and our media partners for this event. In today's event, I would like to focus on why AutoCAD is important. AutoCAD is widely used and it helps in preventing product failures and warranty issues. It is used to create blueprints, floor plans, 3D models, and detailed construction. To summarize, it helps us to visualize our final product and see how it will work, ensuring what we have taken all the necessary steps before putting the project forward. Well, I do not want to take too much of your time. I need to leave some time for Engineer Jeremiah Jormark Bakiran to introduce himself to all of you and fill you in our activity. Thank you very much for listening and let us welcome Engineer Jeremiah Jormark Bakiran. Thank you.
Ayan, so I'll be adding Engineer Jomark Bakira, no? So in addition, he is an Autodesk Expert Elite Program member and Autodesk Certified Instructor. So you can connect with him via LinkedIn, no? So you can just type in Jomark Bakira, no? If you have questions then sa ating session for today, no? And Sir Jomark is also a Mapuan. Okay, so let's give the floor to Sir Jomark. Ayan, good afternoon, Sir Jomark.
Good afternoon.
Hello. Ayan. Good afternoon, Cassandra, Christian, Paul, and I say the Diyos. Okay, let me share my screen. Okay, Miss Nancy, are you seeing my screen na? Ayan. Okay, once more, please connect with me. Connect to me via LinkedIn. Ayan, so the reason we are promoting or advocating LinkedIn is LinkedIn kasi mas madali kayo makakakuha ng trabaho and clients, and the environment in LinkedIn is very professional and kind. So wala masyadong mga kalokohan dyan. Okay, so in addition, marami po tayong groups inviting you if you are in the world of architecture, engineering, and construction. The latest trend nowadays is building information modeling. We're inviting everyone to join us in BIM Philippines. Meron din yan BIM Philippines sa LinkedIn. So whatever Facebook community I'm showing to you, it has an equivalent group also in LinkedIn. So pa-add na lang po. I think there are 131 people requesting to join us in LinkedIn. And guys, sana po mas marami tayong matulungan. Please share this live stream in Facebook if ever you would like to inspire and influence young ones to be engineers then, architects and engineers. So please share our live stream, may it be via YouTube or Facebook. Ayan, so sana nandito na kayo sa Autodesk Community Philippines, sa Autodesk AutoCAD User Group Philippines. So marami rin tayong specific groups for each software. So meron tayong Revit User Group Philippines. So that's the naming convention. So if you're into drawing, Autodesk Sketchbook Pro, User Group Philippines, Autodesk, Inventor User Group Philippines, Autodesk Fusion 360 User Group, ayan, Philippines. So ito yung AutoCAD natin sa LinkedIn. We also have Digital Creatives Philippines, our sister group. And yung mga mahilig mag-drawing dyan, maraming engineers, alam ko, na mahilig din sa mag-drawing. Okay, so we have an upcoming workshop. Malapit na pala, 4 days from now. Clip Studio Paint, January 18. And lastly, we also advocate the use of Adobe softwares. Ayan, so kung interested kayo gumawa ng mga visual effects, motion graphics, inviting you to join us, Adobe After Effects, User Group Philippines, at marami din po ulit yan, may Photoshop, may Illustrator, InDesign, the naming convention is Adobe Premiere Pro, Adobe Photoshop, User Group Philippines. So sharing to you, ayan, ang ating Premiere Pro, to those who are interested to learn more about video editing. Ayan, showing to you After Effects din. Okay, so once more, hoping to connect with you in LinkedIn. And I have to tell you frankly, hanggang ano oras lang tayo, Miss Nelsie?
Until 4, sir.
Okay, so bitin. Bitin, but what we have prepared to you is enough, very enough for you to go on your own and to learn AutoCAD in advance. So we prepared this something to you, a very special, very concise. Okay? So again, our topics for today, of course, meron dito mga beginners din, no? So this course or this webinar is exclusively targeting po, no, those who are absolute beginners. That's why I was mentioning, feel free to share this to young ones, ayan, sa mga nasa K-12. Okay, topics for today, AutoCAD interface, and we will be creating simple geometries. And of course, AutoCAD from the starts really started out as a drafting tool, 'di ba? Ang goal niyan is to palitan, okay, the use of those T-squares, 'di ba, compass. So ang intent talaga niyan initially was for drafting, okay? So that's why we really need to cover,
Sir
of course.
Jomar,
Yes.
medyo mahina daw yung audio.
Hello. Hello. Ayan, ma'am.
Sige, sir, go ahead.
Alert. Okay? So, pa-comment na lang ulit kung malakas na ba yung audio. Okay na ba yan? Checking the comment section. Pa-comment lang po kung satisfactory na yung ating audio. Ano, Miss Delcy?
Sige, sir, go ahead po.
The quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog. Wala po akong, ayan, naririnig. Sa kabilang tenga lang po may audio. Ha? Okay. Pa-check nga, Miss Nelsie, saan ba?
Yeah, it's better na, sir.
Okay na? Adjust mic volume. Okay. Okay na ba? Okay na. Ayan, sa isang stereo na ba siya? Sir Darwin Briones. Stereo na ba? Left side lang po meron. Ayan. Yes, both na. Okay, stereo na. Okay, so going Both na meron. Ayan, jet lag. Ayan. Once more, thank you, Timothy, Ron Cedric, jet lag, Darvin Briones. Ayan, sobrang dami. Sorry ha. Alisa Arenas, Cristel Gabatan. Okay na po. Ayan. So, moving back, topics for today, AutoCAD interface, of course, creating simple geometries, ayan, annotations, and of course, 'di ba? We have to communicate our drawing. So we have to quickly, create or plot and print out our drawings. Ayan, so I think we have provided an exercise to you guys for those who are registered. And after this session, I'll be sharing also the exercise files to you, to all who has registered for reference. Ayan. Hmm. Okay, so once more, I'm going to share my screen. Banners, brand. Ayan, so I have AutoCAD opened na, no? So for things to be concise, no, I'll be answering your questions pagkatapos po, ha? Para for the benefit din nung mga manunood ng replay. Okay. Ayan. Nasa na yun? Okay, so let's start. Okay, I have here AutoCAD opened. So let's open a sample file. So in your exercise files, I'm hoping you have downloaded it. I'm going to open floor plan sample.dwg. So I'm going to select open. Okay, so some of you might be using an older version of AutoCAD. Okay, so once more, I am using the latest version of AutoCAD, which is 2021. And by default, we are currently in the dark mode. In addition, the icons are more cleaner and more defined. Also, AutoCAD now supports 4K. So if you're using monitors that has resolutions of 4K, definitely you'll be having more larger experience. Okay, so moving forward, let's start off getting familiarized with the AutoCAD interface. Let's head up to the left. Notice this letter A, this is called the application menu. I'm going to select this. The usual stuff, same with some other Microsoft applications. We have here a new for us to create a new drawing. The open icon here. We have save. So in addition, dito sa save, notice up, there's these two icons, recent documents and also open documents. So I can cycle through. So notice I have selected open. Ito yung current opened drawing. Once more, recent. And if you're working always on a specific file for weeks or probably more than a week, you may select this pin icon, okay, for you to automatically get back to your work. So in addition, yeah, we can have an ordered list, large icon, smaller icon. Okay, so next, let's head over, hover over save as. So once more, if you're trying to save a new copy, save as, drawing, ayan, we can also bring this over to AutoCAD web and mobile, drawing template, drawing standards, and of course, other formats. So let's check if the other options for saving to other formats. So what you're seeing here under the file types, this drop down, we can save this to older versions of AutoCAD. Okay, I'm going to hit cancel. Let's return to our application menu once more. And under import, aside from PDF, we can import other formats into AutoCAD, such as 3ds Max file, CATIA, IGES, Pro E, SolidWorks. Yeah, so those are the other file types. Selecting cancel. Let's head back to our application menu. And with import, we also have export. Once more, we can export this as a PDF and other formats. So let's check again what are the other formats or file types we can export AutoCAD to. So here under this drop down, we can export this to lithography STL for 3D printing. In addition, we can also export this to EPS and bring this over to Adobe Illustrator. In addition, as a bitmap and IGES. Selecting cancel. Let's head back to our application menu. And of course, under publish, we can send this to a 3D printing service. Archive, e-transmit, of course, email the file and the share views. And of course, AutoCAD is a drafting application. So once more, of course, we can print this, we can plot, a batch plot, plot preview, and notably, we can also have this 3D printed if you're doing 3D designs in AutoCAD. So moving forward under drawing utilities, we have here tools to maintain the drawing for drawing properties, units, audits, status. We can purge. Okay, and of course, close the document, the current document, or all drawings at once. So same with all of this. They're all different, but at the bottom, options stays the same. Of course, we can also exit Autodesk AutoCAD 2021. Okay, so let's select options. Okay, so for options, this may vary depending on your organization if they have rules and guidelines for using AutoCAD. Okay, so once more, this is the area wherein you can customize AutoCAD to work efficiently for you. Okay, so I'm going to hit cancel. So just to add, another quick way of heading over to options is simply typing OP. Okay, OP and select options. So once more, let's head over to our application menu. And notice here we have a magnifying glass. So this is a search field. So if you're looking for a specific commands, let's say for demonstration purposes, let me type in, what I'm looking for the line command. So here we have the results all pertaining to line. So once more from here, you can select a specific result. So I have selected a construction line. So from here, yeah, I am now creating a construction line. I'm going to delete this. And that's the application menu. Let's now move forward to the quick access toolbar, which is this bar above. Notice this first few icons are also in the application menu. We have here new, open, save, save as, plot, undo, and redo. In addition, notice this arrow pointing down. Let's select this, left click. We can check and enable this items to appear in our quick access toolbar. For demonstration purposes, let me select layer. So notice here we now have the layer panel in our quick access toolbar. Okay, so let me remove this by reselecting layer and unchecking that. So if you're always using layer, you can have that at the quick access toolbar. We have here the current name of the drawing opened. We have here a search field, and this one will redirect us to the help menu and the product documentation of AutoCAD. And notice here at our profile, this is me currently logged in. So from this drop down, we can check our account details, explore purchase options, manage licenses, sign in as sign out. We also have here the Autodesk App Store for you to plug in Autodesk apps related to AutoCAD. I can stay connected with the Autodesk online community. And in this drop down, we can head back to help, learn what current version of AutoCAD we are using, send feedback, desktop analytics, download language packs, and of course, offline help. And the usual minimize, maximize, and close window. Next, another area in the AutoCAD user interface is the ribbon. So this whole section over here is the ribbon. And notice the feel and look is the same with some Microsoft applications. And notice as I hover over to these tabs and roll my scroll wheel, I am now cycling through the different tabs. So let me head back to home. Notice each command has its own group. And at the bottom, notice we have here an arrow pointing down. Now these are all flyouts. So if I click this arrow pointing down under draw, we are seeing here additional commands at our disposal. And notice if I move my cursor outside of this area, it minimizes up. And to retain that, heading to draw drop down, it's simply pinning this group of menus. So if I move out, it's stationary there. Let's unpin this. And as we progress, we will discover more of the commands in each of the tabs here. So moving forward, I am now in the Annotate tab. Another one, I want you to take note of this arrow at a 45-degree angle, which is pointing downward. So under Dimensions, I'm going to select this arrow. And this time, under Dimensions, it opened up Dimension Style Manager. I want you to take note on each group of commands, the menu that flies out with this arrow is specific to each group. So for leaders, we opened up Multi-Leader Style Manager. And for text, if we want to edit the text style, we need to click this arrow. And this one opened up the text style menu. Hitting close. And below the ribbon toolbar is the File tab. So this will be populated whenever you are opening a new drawing. So currently we have one drawing available. Once more, this area over here will give you the list or show you the drawings currently opened inside AutoCAD. And before I forget, let me show you the difference between a dialog box and a palette. So once more, under Annotate, this arrow pointing downward, when we click this one, this opens up a dialog box. Once more, a dialog box. And an example of a palette, Let me head over to home and select layer properties. So this one is a palette. Now the difference between the two is a palette is dockable. So notice I can dock it here. We can dock it to the left. Okay, and to close this, the X button is located at the left. And finally, if your ribbon is different from mine, we can cycle through or minimize the ribbon by selecting this drop down, or cycling through by selecting this icon pointing up. So let me left click this to cycle through, left click once more, and it heads back to our current default layout. And if ever the toolbar palettes gets all mixed up, to head back to the default layout or user interface, it's simply heading over to our application menu, selecting options, or simply typing OP, selecting options, and under here, simply head over to profiles and select reset. Okay, so I'm going to select yes. It resets the user interface, selecting OK. Okay, and finally, before we start drafting, lastly, let me first introduce you to the status or status bar. The status bar holds our drafting settings. Okay, so this affects or controls how we draw in AutoCAD. That is how important this bar is. Recall a while ago we reset our user interface via options, and because of that, all of our drafting setting options are currently visible. To bring that back to the default state, let's head over to this three horizontal lines, which is the customization. And from here, let's disable infer constraints, line weight, transparency, selection cycling, 3D object snap, dynamic UCS, selection filtering, gizmo, units, quick properties, lock user interface, and the graphics performance. Okay? Notice some of the items here are already switched on or active, and they are all currently highlighted in blue. So for example, dynamic input is turned on, and auto snap is also turned on, same with our object snap, and show annotation objects always. Let's say I would like to turn on our polar tracking. So I'm going to left click on this. In addition, on its right, we have a fly out menu wherein we can change its settings. Let's say for this instance, let's select 45. And notice this time as I create a line, we are now snapping into a 45-degree increment. I'm going to hit escape and let's head back to the fly out of our polar tracking. We have here tracking settings, and this leads us into our drafting settings. And to bring in our drafting settings, we can also right click to some of the switches. Let's say this time under object snap tracking, I'm going to right click and select object snap tracking settings. So once more, it opened up drafting settings, specifically the tab of Object Snap. Let me close this out. Another method of opening up drafting settings is simply typing D S, and from here I can select drafting settings. And lastly, before we end this chapter, from now on I want you to memorize the various keyboard shortcuts in the drafting settings. So here I am seeing snap on is F9, grid on is F7, polar tracking on is F10, and for object snap, turning or toggling this on and off, it's F3, object snap tracking F11, 3D object snap F4, ortho F8. Okay, let me close this up. Moving forward, let's create simple geometries in AutoCAD. Let's create a new drawing. I'm going to head up and select this icon or hit Control N to create a new drawing. So we are prompted to select a template. Let's select acad.dwt, double left click. Next, let's create a simple rectangle. So let's head up to draw and select rectangle. We are now prompted to place our first corner. And before we drop our first corner, let me share to you that all CAD programs has an X, Y, Z coordinates. And same it goes with AutoCAD. And locating that coordinates, which is 0, 0, 0, which is the origin for our X, Y, Z, is a must, especially to those who are in the architectural field and civil design. Okay, once more, rectangle tool still active, and notice the dimension on the left, which currently has a value of 33.7719, is currently active and highlighted in blue. I'm going to type in 0, comma 0. Next, hitting enter, and notice it placed our first point on our origin. And that origin, which is 0, 0, is currently represented by our UCS icon showing X and Y axis. Moving forward, our horizontal dimension is currently highlighted in blue, which denotes it's active. Let's key in 100. I'm going to hit tab on my keyboard and the key in this time 50. Hitting enter. And congratulations for completing or creating your first geometry in AutoCAD. Moving forward, it's now a great time to discover how to work around an AutoCAD drawing. Let's start off by zooming in and zooming out in AutoCAD, and it's simply scrolling your mouse wheel. Okay, so let's zoom out, making our rectangle small, and to bring over its full extent to our model workspace, it's simply double clicking our mouse wheel. So once more, double click our mouse wheel, and it brings the whole geometry to the fullest extent on our model workspace. And to move a geometry around, to move our views, it's simply panning. And to pan, it's simply holding our mouse wheel. So notice, as I press and hold our mouse wheel, the cursor turned into a black hand. And from here, we are panning. So that's the simple controls and working around your drawing in AutoCAD. Okay, recall a few minutes ago we discussed or we talked about status bar and drafting settings. This time, I want you to head over to our status bar and enable object snap tracking and object snap. Once more, the shortcut key for snap tracking is F11 to toggle it on and off, and F3 for object snap. Okay? In addition, on the left of object snap, let's bring in this fly out, and I want you, in addition, to enable midpoint. And another way to do that is simply head over to snap settings, and on our drafting settings under object snap, it's simply ticking midpoint. Okay, so with this five snap modes enabled, I'm going to select OK. This time, let's bring in or activate our line command. And instead of heading up and selecting this, of course, the shortcut is simply typing L, hitting enter. And with object snap and snap tracking turned on, I'm going to hover over this horizontal line, and notice the triangle, it denotes our midpoint. Next, I'm going to head over to this vertical line on the left, hover over the midpoint, and next I'm going to move slowly to the right, and from here we are given the intersection. So with this, I'm going to left click, and now we are exactly at the geometric center of this rectangle. So let's move to the right and head over here to this midpoint or intersection and left click. And to terminate the command, it's simply hitting escape. Okay, so recall our previous command is a line. So with that in mind, we can repeat that immediately instead of hitting L by simply pressing our space bar. So I know that because here at the bottom, at our command prompt, it says here line. Let's drop our first point at this endpoint, left click, heading over to this other endpoint, left click, move over here, and left click. Let's say I made a mistake by placing our next point here. I can simply right click and select undo. Okay? Once more, by right clicking, it gives us additional options to work around in a specific command in AutoCAD. Okay? So let me delete this, hit L, create a line from here going here, hitting escape. And just to add, there's another useful snap in AutoCAD. So let me select this three lines and hitting delete. Okay, so let's bring over our align command once more, hitting L, hitting enter, and once more prompted to place our first point. This time, I'm going to hold the shift and right click. Once more, line, and the shift and a right click. From here, we can override specific object snaps. And this time, I'm going to select geometric center. Okay, so let's hover over any line of our rectangle. So notice here, as I hover, there's this green circle at the center denoting it's the geometric center. And to place our first point there, it's simply whenever that green circle appears, I can simply left click. So notice we are now at the geometric center, and I can now move to the right and place our second point. Hitting escape. And that's how we can quickly create an efficient and accurate geometry using object snap, snap tracking, and snap overrides in AutoCAD. Moving forward, let's discover polar tracking and orthogonal mode, or simply ortho. Let's head over to our status bar, and I want you to turn on polar tracking. By default, it's turned on. And at this fly out, I want you to enable or tick 45. Next, in addition, let's make sure that snap tracking and object snap is turned on. Next, let's grab our line command, hitting L and hitting our space bar. Let's drop our first point at this endpoint. And notice as I hit the 45-degree angle, we are given the green dashed polar tracking line. So with this, next I'm going to hover over our midpoint or endpoint and move to the right. And now I am given an intersection. Left click here. Let's move somewhere around here. And in addition, while we are still in any command, I can pan. So I'm going to hold our mouse wheel to pan and move our geometry here. Next, moving to the left, and as I hit that 45-degree angle, notice the green dashed polar tracking line. And from here, we can drop our second point at this endpoint. Hitting escape. Next, let's discover ortho. I'm going to select this line and delete this. Let's now head over to our status bar and enable ortho mode. Once more, the shortcut key is F8. In addition, we cannot have ortho and polar tracking simultaneously turned on. It has to be one only. So if ortho is turned on, it automatically disables polar tracking. Okay, so with ortho turned on, let's grab our align command, hit L, hitting space bar, and let's move over to this vertical line, hover over its midpoint, and notice as I go to the right and move up, I am currently tied down or restricted to a horizontal axis. Once more, ortho locks you to the positive and a negative axis. So if I head to the left, I am tied horizontally. Moving back to the right, let's place our second point here. Hitting escape, hit spacebar once more, and let me show you the vertical constraint or restriction, hovering over to this midpoint, and as I go to the right or a left, I'm restricted to this axis only. So dropping our second point at this midpoint and hitting escape. Okay, moving forward, I'm going to zoom extents, double click on our mouse wheel and zoom out. Let's discover more what's in store in the line command. So once more, hitting L, pressing our space bar, and now I am prompted to place our first point. Let's place it over at this endpoint or a midpoint. Left click here. Next, by default, dynamic input should be turned on. So if not, please turn on dynamic input. Next, I'm going to type in 20, comma 20. What I am instructing AutoCAD, specifically our line command, is to place our next point. I'm going to hit enter now and hit escape. I just instructed our align command to place our second point. Recall it's 2020, and that means 20 to the x, starting from this point, and 20 going up. And if that is plotted, it intersects at this endpoint. And so if you want this line to be at the left, once more hitting L for line, let's drop our first point at this midpoint or endpoint. And our intent is to place our second point here. To do that, we need to go negative x direction. So negative 20, comma, and we have to go up on y, which is positive. So I'm going to type in 20, hitting enter and hitting escape. Okay, we'll be learning more about absolute and relative coordinates in our future courses. So stay tuned. Moving forward, let's discover the arc command. But first, I want you to disable ortho by hitting F8. Okay, and before we begin, for beginners, arc is really frustrating when you're very new to AutoCAD. The golden rule for all arcs in AutoCAD is their positive direction is going counterclockwise around their center point. So let's now head over to arc, and notice there's a lot of arcs here. On your spare time, I want you to discover each of them. And for now, let's select start, center, end. Okay, my intent here is to create an arc from here going to this tip, and to do that, the start point of our arc will be on this point. Left click here, move up to this endpoint, and notice as I move slowly to the right, we now have created our target arc and on the direction that we wanted it to. Left click, and as a best practice, notice if I hit the space bar to repeat the arc command, we may be or possibly be using a different type of arc command. So to make sure, make it a habit to head over to our fly out and select our specific type of arc. So selecting start, center, end once more. My intent is to create the arc starting from this point going here. So to do that, let's first select this point, move to the left, left click here, and move up. Left click. Okay, and moving forward, let's discover circle. So let's select this fly out, and notice there's tons of options here for us to create a circle. Once more, on your spare time, I want you to discover them all, but for now, let's select center radius. Prompted to drop our center point. Let's drop this at this intersection or a midpoint, And next, notice it asks us for the radius. And at this moment or instance, let's just key in 20. Next, let's discover polylines. I'm going to save this drawing for now. Hit Control S and paste my target location for this. Let me name this as D-01. Selecting save. Next, let's create a new drawing. Selecting a new. And for the template, let's select acad.dwt, double left click on this one. Moving forward, let's move up to draw and select polyline. The shortcut key for this is typing PL and hitting spacebar or enter. Let's drop our first point somewhere around here. No need to be exact. Making sure dynamic input is turned on. Let's head up, hit F8 for ortho, locking us vertically. Let's type in 10, hit enter. Let's move to the right and key in 25. So notice here we are still at the polyline command. Next, my intent is to create an arc. So I'm going to right click, selecting arc. Once more, ortho is still turned on. And with snap tracking turned on, I'm going to disable ortho, hitting F8. Let's now move over to this endpoint. Once more, making sure snap track is turned on. Let's move slowly to the right and hover also to this endpoint and move down. So now we have an intersection. Left click here and let's close this up. I can right click and from here we have this menu giving us options. Let's select line and we can quickly close this one by simply typing in C and hitting enter. The advantage of having a polyline is we have created different or we can create different geometries within only a one command, which is the polyline. In addition, a polyline consumes a smaller memory. Notice here we only have a one entity instead of having three lines and an arc. Next, before we discover creating polygons, let me introduce to you on how to create new layers. My intent here is to place our polygon into a new layer. And before we begin, make sure you are in the Home tab. And on the right, we have here a layer properties. The shortcut is LA. So notice here we have the layer palette. We can head over to this edge and resize this. Creating layers gives us the opportunity to be more organized in our drawing. To create a new layer, simply head up. Once more, the shortcut key is Alt N. Selecting this, let's name this as polygon. Hitting enter and let's change the color. In addition, we can resize these columns. Heading back to color once more with the polygon highlighted. I'm going to select this swatch and let's select a color. I'm going to select index color 51, selecting OK. And after we create a polygon, we'll be creating splines as well. Let's have that on a separate layer as well. So selecting a new, let's name this as splines. Hitting enter. And for its color, let's have this to be color 140. Selecting OK. Once more, in the future courses, we will be discovering more about layers. Selecting close. Let's now switch our layer 2, heading over here to this drop down and selecting polygon. Notice here our current active layer is now polygon. Let's now head over to draw and head over to this fly out and select polygon. We are now prompted to enter the number of sides. Our target is a hexagon which has 6 sides, so I want you to type in 6, asking for the center of that polygon. So with object snap turned on, let's hover over here and select the center. Next, I want the polygon to be inside this arc, and that needs to be inscribed in circle. So let's head over to the right and select this midpoint. And because the current layer is a polygon, automatically our polygon is placed on this layer with this yellowish color. Moving forward, let's discover splines. Heading up to draw, selecting this drop down, and let's pin this. And notice here we have 2 splines, spline fit and a spline CV, which can be controlled with vertices. So I'm going to select spline CV. Let's drop our first point here, creating a random spline. Left click here and hit enter. Let's now select this spline. So notice here's our control of vertices. In addition, as I hover over a vertex, we have the option to stretch the vertex, add a new vertex, refine the vertices, or remove a vertex. So by moving this, I am modifying the shape of our spline. Okay, so in addition at the left, so notice this triangle or arrow pointing down. As I select this, notice we have the option to convert this spline into a fit spline. So notice the difference. I can reshape this spline by selecting this vertex or grips. Hitting escape. So splines are useful for civil engineers, to you guys who are into topology and terrains. And let's change the layer of the spline. So I'm going to select this, head over to our layers drop down and select splines. Hitting escape. And lastly, let's create another layer, typing LA, the shortcut for layer. Let me create a new one and type here poly line for the name and for the color. Selecting this watch, let's select this red color. Selecting OK. Let's make this layer to be our current. I know that because polygon has a check mark. So selecting this and selecting this layer with a green icon. Let's now close our layer palette, select our polyline, and head back to our layer drop down and select polyline. Hitting escape to deselect. And as a remembrance, I'm going to hit Control S and let's save this as D-02. So once more, if you have registered, we'll be sharing this file to you guys as a reference. Selecting save. And let's unpin our draw flyout. Ayan. Hello, hello. Apologies sa ating technical difficulties. Break muna ng onte. Aha. Okay, so once more, we will be posting the replay of this live stream, no? Na hopefully mas okay yung audio. Ayan. Ayusin lang namin ng onti ulit para sa ating second phase. So once more for our second phase, no, natapos na natin yung pag-create ng simple geometries. Next, we will proceed to creating annotations. So ayan, no, once more we will be uploading the replay of this with better audio. Miss Nelsie, nandiyan ka pa ba? Ano po ang terms natin with regards sa certificate?
Sa certificate, no, yung mga umattend and nag-register, they'll be having certificate of event participation, no. So magpapa-output ka ba, sir?
Okay, so ang para sa mga taong gustong makakuha ng course completion, siguro Miss Nelsie, I want everyone, no, requesting everyone to upload the files. Gagawin nyo lang po yung ginawa ko din. Okay? Kasi matututo kayo ng mas maigi doon. So kanina, no, I created ayun, the annotation, no, the D0 no, yung ginawa natin. So I want you to do that. Simple lang naman 'yon. But of course, this was talagang kinonsize talaga namin to. Na once more, you can study on your own after ng training na to. So, konting words from our sponsor lang siguro muna, Miss Nelsie. Okay?
Go ahead po.
Inom lang ako ng tubig. Hello, hello. Ayan. Okay, sana this time, no? Okay na yung audio. Ayan, so pa-comment na lang din, no? So this will be our second part. Okay, so once more we will be uploading a clearer, better audio version of this. Miss Elsie, may announcement pa ba?
Ayan, may sasagutin lang akong question, no? So, yung kanina, parang 2015 yung version niya. So, I think hindi siya mag-open, sir, no? Kung lower version, yung file mo. Tama ba?
Ano na?
Kung 2015 yung version ko, can I open yung file na
Uh,
binigay mo?
I think 2013 sinave yung versions na yon.
Okay, so dapat mag-work siya because I see one comment no na hindi daw niya ma-open sa 2015 version niya.
Oo. Pero check pa rin natin ano after ng second part natin. Minsan nagkakaproblema kung kailan na nagtuturo ano ito. Anyways, don't worry, may replay naman no and please share that replay din sa mga gustong matuto rin ng AutoCAD. Ang downside lang siguro, wala nang certificate, sorry. So kaalaman na lang,
Yes.
knowledge naman is ano, 'di ba? Priceless pa rin. Won't be able to send. We will be giving time for you to create the output. Imagine nyo to the training is only 2 hours so magagawa nyo naman agad yun within 2 hours. So ayan, paglaanan lang ng oras. Okay? So para makarami. Tuloy ko na, Miss Nancy.
Sige sir. Ay, ayan. Sa mga hindi pa nagre-register, please do register na kasi i-close na po namin yung registration in 10 minutes. By 3:20, we won't be accepting responses na po. So, working naman po yung Google form. So, nag-try ako mag-register ngayon. So, nakapasok naman ako. So, please try na lang din po. Yung which product po? So, AutoCAD, no? AutoCAD yung ating sinend na link. Ayan. Tapos, wala na po bang certificate, ma'am? May certificate pa rin po kayong makukuha. Certificate of event participation, no? So, mas special nga lang yung certificate ng may output.
Course
Kasi ang sa
completion.
kanila, course completion. Okay. So, yun lang yung difference nun. So, pag walang output and umattend, a certificate of event participation. Pero kung may output ka, a course completion yung makukuha mo. And yung ating certificate ay pwede nyong i-apply kay PRC as self-directed learning if magre-renew kayo ng inyong licenses. Okay?
Ayan, oo. So once more, the difference, no, iba yung certificate of participation lang at iba yung certificate of course completion. Yung course completion, yun yung pag umattend kayo, nag-submit kayo, yun yung the same pag nag-microcad kayo, ayan. 'Di ba? Na-complete nyo yung buong course, yun ang makukuha nyo, ganun. Okay, so mas prestigious yung course completion kasi ibig sabihin ginawa nyo talaga yung requirements. Ayan. So hindi pa tayo tapos, Miss Diana Manankil, no? So lahat ng pinakita ko kanina, gagawan nyo ng output yon. D-01, D-02 and I'm very much sure, no? Tinest na namin to na sapat na sapat to, most especially to the new beginners. So next time, hoping you will invite us for a more advanced session. Okay, so ayan, nandiyan naman si Miss Nelsie lagi. Okay, so ayan, let me share my screen na, Miss Nelsie. Wait lang. Plate.dwg. Double F click to open this. And before we drop in some text, let's head over to our layers and enable or activate text layer. And a good practice in creating a text for drawings is to first define the text layer style. Now, there are two ways to get in the text style dialog box. First is getting into Home tab under Annotation and selecting this text style. The other way is heading over to the Annotate tab, and under Text, we're going to select this fly out. Notice by default we have two text styles available. For demonstration purposes, we're going to create a new text style. So selecting new, let me name this as training. Selecting OK. Next, let's spice things up by changing the default font into Calibri. So with this drop down, I can easily head over to Calibri, which starts with the letter C. So I'm going to hit C, and here it is, Calibri. Next, under font style, we have the option to have this as bold, italic, and a regular. So I'm going to stick to italic for now. For the size, we're going to disable annotative for now. And for the height, we'll have this at default to 0, because when we enter the text, we want to have the option to key in our desired height. Okay? So in addition, we can have effects, and we can see that in this preview. Adjust the width factor, let's say 0.8, or apply an oblique angle to your text. Okay, so I'm going to set this back to its default values, disabling upside down and backwards. Okay, so notice here, there's no OK button here. So what we're going to do is select training. Now this is highlighted now in blue, and select set current. Selecting yes, and selecting close. And notice as I head over to Home tab, under this annotation drop down, we now have the current text style, which is training. Next, let's drop in some text. Let's start off by heading to annotation. Specifically under text, let's first create a single line text. So moving here, specify the start point of text. I'm going to drop this somewhere around here. Next, we are now prompted to enter a height. So I'm going to key in 6, hitting enter, and whenever this appears, simply leave the default so the orientation of the text is horizontal. So hitting enter, and let's now, or I'm going to type in chain plate, capital C and a capital P. Next, I'm going to hit enter and type in all caps top view. Hitting enter and hitting enter once more. And so notice here under single line text, so whenever we hit enter, it creates a new line of text. So here we have two text, chain plate and top view. Moving forward, let's discover multi-text. So let me pan this to the left. Let's now head up to text and this time select multi-line text. Notice here we are asked to specify our first corner. Let me drop this here. And for the opposite corner, I'm going to move my cursor up to here. So notice we're creating a text box. Left click here. And this time I'm going to type in all caps, notes. And notice for multi-line text, we have this contextual tab indicating that we are in the text editor. So notice the look similar to most of the word processors out there. Next, let's add in some numbering. But first, I'm going to hit enter to get into the second line. Let's now head up under bullets and numbering. Let's select numbered. I'm going to type in all dimensions in millimeters. Hitting enter. We have now a number 2 for the numbering and type in material. And for this, all caps, I'm going to type in steel. In addition, because this is a text box, I can adjust its width to accommodate millimeter to the top line, all dimensions in. So to do that, I'm going to hover over here at the top right and move this further to the right. Okay, so I'll be leaving the rest up to you to discover. And before we close the text editor, let me refine this, placing my cursor at the left of notes and hitting backspace. Selecting close text editor. Next, let's define our dimension styles. So the same with text styles, I can head over to Home tab under Annotation and select Dimension Style. Second one is heading over to Annotate and selecting this fly out. Let's now create a new style. I'm going to select a new and let's name this as training. And let's start with the standard. And I'm going to disable annotative for now. And for use for, we're going to use this dimension style to all of our dimensions. So selecting continue. Let me head over to the lines tab. Now for my personal preference, under color, I want this to inherit our layer. Same with the line type and the line weight. So notice it updated on our preview window. Same also with our extension lines, making this to by layer, making this all to a by layer. I'm okay with this current preview. Let's head over now to symbols and arrows. For the arc length, I prefer preceding dimension text. And for the center mark, I prefer having that mark. Let's move forward to text. Under text style, let's select what we created a while ago, which is training. In addition, I can select this ellipsis and create a new style. Once more, for text color, I want this to inherit our layer. Let me leave the fill color to be none. Text placement, I want this at their defaults. And for the text alignment, I prefer aligned with dimension line. Next, let's move over to fit. And I'm okay with this defaults, but feel free to customize this depending on your requirements. Let's now move over to primary units. Unit format, I prefer decimal and precision. Let me select this up to 1 digit for the decimal. Also, we have the option to round this out. For zero suppression, I'm going to disable leading and trailing angular dimensions to be decimal degrees. Precision, I prefer this to be at 0. And I'm going to enable trailing. Notice the preview under alternate units. We have the option to display units. In addition, I can select architectural to show this side by side. So let me disable this. And for tolerances, once more, we have the option for method to have a symmetrical, deviation, limits, and basic. So I'm going to stick to none. And finally, select OK. And same with our text styles. I'm going to select training and select set current. Let's now select close. In addition, I'll be showing an angular dimension. So let me update our current drawing. Let me head over first to home, and on our layers, I'm going to enable object. I'm going to hit L for a line, create a line, 10 down, hitting escape, and I'm going to head over to my polar tracking and enable the 30-degree angle increment. Hitting L and creating a 30-degree line here, hitting L once more, hitting escape and deleting this. And I would like to trim out this line segment. In addition, instead of selecting a trim, I can type in T R and select trim. Now this is new in AutoCAD 2021. I'm going to hover simply here and trim this line segment out. Hitting escape. Let's now add the dimensions, but first, make it a habit to update your current layer, selecting dimension. Let's now head over to annotations, selecting linear, and let's define the pitch of our chain plate, hovering over the circle. Left click to select its center point, same with the circle, placing our dimension here, left click. Next, let's try out selecting the radial dimension, selecting radius. Let's dimension this arc instead, placing our dimension here. And finally, to demonstrate the angular dimension, selecting angular, selecting this line and this line. Let's place our dimension here. Okay, so by now, you may think that we made a mistake, and as we progress, we're going to update our dimension to scale. Moving forward, let's create a table, but first, let's create a new layer for our table. So selecting new, and let's name this to table, and let's change its color to red. Selecting OK. In addition, make sure it is a continuous line. Actually, this is the only option here. Selecting OK, and let's close our palette. But first, let's make the table layer active. Closing this. Let's now head over to annotate, and I'm going to pan our geometry to the right. Once more, under annotate, we're going to select table. Let's start off by heading to table style, and for now we're going to stick with the standard. Next, under insert options, I want to be at a start from an empty table. In addition, we have the option to link this to a data, for example, an Excel file. And of course, we want to have a preview of our table. Under insertion behavior, let's enable specify insertion point. And for columns, let's key in 4. Data rows to be 3. And I'm going to leave this for width at 2.5 and row height at 1. For first row cell style, it will be title, second row header, and all other row cell types to be data. Let's now select OK. And for our insertion point, let me place this here. So once more, this looks very small. Let me zoom in. And to reveal the table, it's simply left clicking outside. So left click here. Let's now zoom in to our table. Hovering over our table, and once we left click, it brings us to this contextual tab, which is a table cell. Okay, so let's start off by creating or placing a text on our first cell. So with this cell selected, I'm going to type in dimensions table. So same with the typical spreadsheet, I can hit tab to cycle through, and I can hit our up and down arrow keys. So with the A2 cell, I'm going to type in part name, hitting tab, typing in diameter. And for C2, I'm going to type in radius. And for D2, part number. Okay, so let's move over to A3 cell. Let me type in chain plate 1, copying this. Control C, Control V here. remove 1, replace it with 2, and paste this once more and replace 1 to 3. Hitting tab. So once more, if you're familiar with Excel or the other spreadsheets, the look and feel of tables in AutoCAD is the same as well. So with this, I'm going to leave you to discover the rest. Let's now select Close Text Editor. Double click our mouse wheel to zoom extents, and notice we have created dimensions, multi-line text, and a single line text. Let's now move forward to communicate our design intent by creating layouts and have them for printing and plotting. Let's start off by creating a new layer. Let's head up to Layer Properties. Select this icon to create a new layer. Let's name this as Title Block. In addition, another tip to create a new layer is to simply click the comma key. Okay, so we have created a new layer, and let's name this as Title Text. Next, let's change the color of our title text and title block. Selecting this swatch, let's have this to a color orange, index 30. Same also for our title block, index 30, an orange color. Selecting OK. Let's close this layer palette, and I'm going to pan over to the left and create a rectangle. The shortcut key for rectangle is simply typing REC, selecting rectangle. Let's drop our first point here. The dimension of this rectangle is 420. Hitting tab by 297. Hitting enter. The size of this is an A3 paper. Let me reposition this rectangle. I'm going to select this. Hit M, the shortcut for move, and I'm going to move this over here. Next, this needs to be placed in our recently created layer. So I'm going to select this rectangle, head over to our layers drop down, and select title block. Hitting escape. Next, I would like to offset this rectangle inward. So I'm going to head up to our modify command panel, selecting offset, the value to be 15. Hitting enter. Once more, it needs to be inward. So selecting the object, which is our rectangle. So notice as I go over up and down, in this instance, we need to go down to have it inward. Left click and hitting escape. Next, we're going to select this newly created rectangles, creating a window selection. In addition, I want you to take note between the difference of a window selection. This one is in blue, and as I head over to the left, notice it's a dashed line in the color of green. This one is a crossing window selection. So with window selection, we need to have all of our target selection inside the window. Okay, so left click. Next, I'm going to right click, head over to a clipboard, and we are going to select copy with a base point. Let's specify our base point to be this corner. So ignore the stretch of vertex, add vertex, remove vertex. Left click here. Next, I'm going to head over to our layout. So the layout is where we are going to drop our title block and create our viewports. Okay? So before I paste our rectangles here, I'm going to create a window selection and delete this current viewport. Next, to paste, it's simply hitting Control V, and let's insert this at our origin, which is 0, comma 0. Hitting enter. So notice our rectangle is bigger than our current layout. Okay, moving forward, let's get organized. I'm going to head over to our Layout 1 tab, right click, and let's rename this to ISO A3-landscape. Hitting enter. Next, I'm going to head back to our tab, right click here, and select Page Setup Manager. Okay, so let me move our dialog box here, and notice our current page setup is 8.5 by 11 inches. So we need to create a new page to accommodate our A3. So I'm going to select a new, and once more, I'm going to name this as ISO A3 landscape PDF, because we're targeting to have this printed in a PDF. Selecting OK. Let's start off by changing the printer plotter name to AutoCAD PDF General Documentation. And for the paper size, we're going to search for ISO Expand A3 420 by 297. Okay, so next, what to plot? It will be the extents, and we want this centered to the plot. And the units, we want this to be 1:1. Next, for the plot style, let's change this to monochrome. I'm going to leave the defaults for the plot options and make sure this is in landscape. Selecting OK. Next, I'm going to select this newly created page setup. Double left click to activate this, setting this as current, and selecting close. So notice we have the full extent of the rectangle that we have created a while ago. Okay, so let's get organized. I'm going to delete the layout too. Right click on this and hit delete. Selecting OK. Next, in addition, we can right click once more to our newly created layout tab and select move or copy. Let's create a new copy, and let's have this move to end. Selecting OK, and let's rename this by right clicking. Let's say ISO A3 details. Okay, let's head back to our ISO A3 landscape. Next, let's head back to model, head over to our layer properties, and let's create a new layer. I'm going to call this as a viewport, and let's make this current by double clicking. Notice the green check mark, and I want you to take note of a plot. So notice this printer icons. I'm going to click on. So notice it has now a red no sign. This means the viewport rectangle will not be printed. Okay, so once more, this is important. If you would like any of the layers not to be printed, simply select this, making it red. Okay. Lastly, let's change the color of our view port to be index color 30 orange. Selecting OK, and let's close our layer palette. If ever you have a change of mind, simply head over to your layers drop down, and from here you can also change the color of the layer. So I'm changing this to a grayish color. Notice here, let's head back now to our layout. Next, I'm going to head up to our contextual tab, layout. Next, let's head over to our viewports, selecting this drop down, and let's select rectangular. So we are going to create a rectangular viewport. Left click somewhere around here up to here. Okay, so notice by default the grids are shown. To remove this, I'm going to double click on this, and let's head over to our status bar and have the drawing grid off. Okay, so next, let me zoom into our chain plate. So notice it's hard to see our object layer. So with that, I'm going to get out of this current viewport by double clicking outside. Let me get back to our model tab. Head over to our layers, and let's change the color of our object layer to, let's say, a pure white. Selecting OK. Let's now head back to our layout, and notice it's now looking neatly inside our viewport. So next, let's head up once more to layout, create another viewport by selecting rectangular. Let's create another viewport from this endpoint going up to here. Next, double left click on this viewport, and let me zoom in into our table and position this one here. So once more, to get out from the current active viewport, simply head out and double left click outside. In addition, I can select this rectangular viewport, and we can resize this. Okay, so same with our chain plate top view, resizing this here. And make it a habit to always check. I am noticing our viewport rectangle is in the wrong layer. So selecting this, heading to our layers drop down, and selecting a viewport. Hitting escape. Next, before we resolve the issue between our dimensions, I'm going to hover over our viewport. So notice at the custom scale, so it's 0.9. Let's have this to the right scale. So selecting this, I'm going to head over to our status bar and select scale. Selected the viewport. Let's change this to 1 is to. Okay, the correct scale should be 1 is to 1. Next, let's now fix our dimension. I'm going to hit escape to deselect that viewport. Let's now head over to our model workspace, pan over to our chain plate top view, and let's open up our dimension style manager. So another way is typing in D, and it's here, dim style. We're going to select a training, and let's modify this. And it's simple. All we need to do is head over to fit and simply enable annotative. Okay, selecting OK. So notice the annotative symbol, setting this as current and selecting close. Next. Next, this dimensions was created before we created or activated annotative scaling. So I'm going to delete this dimensions. Once more, making sure the layer is in the correct layer, which is dimension. And finally, we can now grab our dimensions. Let's say linear, selecting the center point of the circle and this circle, and a left click here. So notice we are now in the correct dimension size. And if we head back now to our layout, so double left click here. So it seems like a bug in AutoCAD, but the dimension should be appearing here. Okay. And if this bug still exists, we can always head back to our dimension style and create a new style. So let's select training. I'm going to select a new and we're going to copy training. I'm going to type in training 2 instead. And I'm going to disable annotative, selecting continue. And this time for the text, I'm going to key in the height of our current text, which is here at the below top view is 6. So I'm going to type in 6 and notice the update, selecting OK. Let's have training 2 current. So selecting training 2 and selecting set current, selecting close. And let's check. It's training 2. I'm going to delete this, create another dimension. Left click here and left click here, place our dimension here, hitting escape, and let's check once more. And now it's updated. Okay. And finally, it's simple to plot this or print this out to PDF. We have options. One from the application menu, selecting print and plot. The other one is simply selecting plot into our quick access toolbar. Selecting this, I'm going to continue to plot to a single sheet. That's what our target is. And from here, we can have a preview. Okay? So we can now commit to this one. And I'm going to save this on my desktop. And here's the sample drawing. Holler.
Okay, no? So, end na ba yon, Sir Joe Mark?
Okay, so let's do a recap, no? So what we have all learned. Okay, wait lang. And pa-check na lang din, no, yung mga katanungan. Okay, so we will be requesting an output from you guys. So ito lang naman, no, you'll be watching the replay, no, Miss Nelsie. Tapos tinuro ko naman, no, kung paano gawin tong item na to using those commands. So, yun lang naman, basically, ang pinakamahalaga, no, kanina, no, so regarding sa mga, I am requesting you, no, uh, highly recommended na i-memorize nyo lahat ng kung ano yung F3, F4, F8 na commands. Okay, and next, I want to see this output also based on what I have showed you a while ago and the PDF version of ayan no of our drawing. So any will do no if you yung iba diyan no baka gusto niyo ng sarili niyo hindi naman kailangan na necessarily sa output ng PDF na to no. For example, gusto niyo ibahin ng konti ito, mas mahirap. Ayan, okay 'yon. And Miss Nelsie, no, I've just seen ang dami nag-register. But hindi lahat to nandito ngayon. We are only at 600 currently right now, 640. So, attendance check. Yung gusto makakuha ng certificate. Ano yun, Miss Nancy? Yung certificate na yun? For
Yeah,
attendance?
yes, sir. Certificate of event participation, no? So, yung kanina, kaya tayo, nung nag-start pa lang tayo, no, comment na tayo ng kanilang pangalan, kung ano yung school nila para sa attendance po yun. So, ngayon, since pa-end na tayo, let's do attendance check na rin. So, pa-comment na lang din po ang inyong name or yung inyong full name together with your school name. Okay? Ayan.
Aha. So, pwede ba natin pagbigyan yung iba na ano ba yon? Total, pwede ba natin silang pagbigyan hanggang Saturday for the output? Gagawin nila ng Saturday and then we will be checking the output on Sunday. Walang
Saturday kaagad, sir? Or can we give them like a week
Actually,
sa...
very simple lang yung gagawin. Very simple. Madaling gawin lang yan. I'm sure, mas lalo na sa may mga kakilala dyang veterano. Okay, so, but of course, let me remind everyone, this live stream po ay targeting, ayan, the absolute beginners. Okay? And of course, we are open no for suggestions kung paano may concise nga naman within 2 hours. But rest assured to all of you guys, to our friends in Batangas State, Pangasinan University, Justin's University of Batangas, ayan, no, we are open for our next round. So, marami pang kailangan i-tackle dito, no? Hindi ko ata nabanggit yung XREFs and creating 3D models. So, iba din yun, no? Okay, so again, requesting you guys to connect with me in LinkedIn.
Ayan. Ayan, so connect with Engineer Bakiran in LinkedIn, no? So, Jomark Bakiran lang. And then, inviting you to join his channel as well, Jomark Bakiran on YouTube, no? So, baka sa next, we'll be having, kasi, another training, no? So, ayun naman po ay awarding of certificates, no? So sa session na yon, doon kayo magke-claim ng inyong certificate. So please antabayanan nyo or you can like subscribe and be notified sa ating mga channels dahil dyan po tayo magla-live kung magre-release na tayo ng certificate, no? So yon, ulitin ko lang po kung umattend lang and walang output, certificate of event participation po ang inyong makukuha. And then kung may output, certificate of um, course completion. So, Sir Jomark, final na po ba yung yung pasahan sa Saturday?
Oo, saglit lang yun. Tsaka para hindi rin magtagal, no? Kasi para matapos nyo na rin agad, maka move on na tayo, di ba? Kayo. And gusto ko lang i-add, Miss Nelsie, pa-share naman ng screen ko. May gusto kong i-add. Ayan. So, sa mga makakakuha po ng Certificate of a Course Completion, ito po yung advantage no, no? Sa ba yun? Under accomplishments. Again, course completion hindi yung participation. Punta kayo sa LinkedIn account nyo, ilalagay nyo, pupunta kayo sa accomplishment courses. And dito nyo ilalagay yung name ng certificate at may yan, serial number kasi. Diyan nyo ilalagay yung serial number. So, I'm hoping nakatulong yan. So, kita nyo naman, no, ibang-iba po yung LinkedIn. Hindi pwede yung pirma-pirma basta ni ganitong speaker, ni ganito ganyan. Nag-a-ask siya ng serial number for a verification. And yun yung advantage ng having a certificate of course completion. Can you share a sample, ma'am, of that certificate? Meron ba tayo dyan?
Naku, hindi ako nakapaghanda.
Anyways, later na lang habang sinesearch mo, I'm going to add Miss Cassandra.
Hello po. Good
Malakas ata yung
afternoon.
audio mo.
Sorry. Good afternoon, everyone. I am Cassandra Galanco, the External Vice President of ASPM USC. And I would like to thank Engineer Bakiran for this informative training, even in such a short amount of time. And also, I'm here to present the certificate, which will be screen shared by our president. We're having some technical difficulties. So, sir, can I ask po if may next po ba kayong events na pwede pong i-promote ngayon? Na pwede pong puntahan ng mga participants din?
Events, for our events, please stay tuned lang siguro sa YouTube channel ng Autodesk Community Philippines. At lumalabas naman doon, di ba, may countdown timer if ever na may upcoming events. And, of course, magkakaroon tayo ng event kung mag-organize ulit kayo, Miss Cassandra, di ba?
Surely po,
Di ba?
surely.
So, if you prefer Revit naman, di ba? Or other softwares, or may it be Adobe din, no? We are open for that.
Sige pa.
Kaya
So,
ikaw, ibabalik ko sa'yo, ikaw tuloy yung taya. Mag-organize ka ulit ng follow-up. Kasi
sure,
kahit ako
sir.
bitin eh.
No problem. Siguro, sir, next, mas advanced na naman na AutoCAD. So, para ma-explain mo din pa po yung iba pang commands.
Oo. At saka,
Ayun.
ibita natin yung ibang alumni na malulupit sa BIM.
Yun din po.
Si Mr. Uy pa rin ba yun din?
Yes po, yes po. Sir
Yun, okay.
Francis. Dr. Francis
Okay.
Uy pa din po. So,
Shout out kay
ako
Doc
na lang.
Francis.
Shout out. Ako na lang po pala yung magsi-screen share. I guess may technical difficulty po. Yeah. Let me open this. So, kita na po ba?
Miss Delcy, paad?
Ayan. I would like to present the certificate of appreciation to Engineer Jeremiah Joe Mark Bakiran for sharing his expertise as the Autodesk certified instructor in the webinar entitled AutoCAD Essentials 2021 Training held this January 14, 2021 via YouTube Live. Thank you, sir. And also, we would like to present the Certificate of Appreciation to Ms. Nelsie Ann M. Marciliana for coordinating with our organization and her contribution in managing the webinar held this January 14, 2021 by YouTube Live. And also, uh, Aspi Mapua would like to thank ASUS Philippines for their contribution to this event, our media partners, and most importantly, Autodesk Community Philippines for their vision and goals in helping out the community by providing free technical trainings and certifications through Autodesk software. And thank you for all the participants and the almost 1,600 registrants and 600 plus attendees in this webinar. Thank you so much and see you on our next event.
Yan. Thank you, Cassandra. So,
Thank you.
stay tuned na lang, no? So, ayun, we'll be having webinar naman and by next week siguro. So, ang i-live naman natin is yung kung paano nila makiklaim yung
Oo.
kanilang certificate. No, so yan sa ating mga natirang viewers, so stay tuned kayo sa ating mga YouTube channels, Jomark Bakiran, ang ating Autodesk Community Philippines and Mechaniweb's Facebook page. And also sa Meetup, magpa-publish din kami ng event parang ganto. So last time kasi may event kami ng Fusion 360 naman yon. So after nun, nag create kami ng event for awarding of certificates. No? So magkakaganyan tayo. Tapos, Sir Jomark, saan nila ipapasa ang kanilang output?
Siguro download, i-live din natin ulit yan, no? And manghihingi tayo ng download link para makita natin yung DWG file na ginawa nila. Ayan.
Okay,
And
so
yeah, also, again, ipopost namin yung replay na mas maayos para for the benefit of all. Later.
okay. So, kung may mga question kayo or kukunin, let's say yung exercise file, hindi nyo siya nakuha, you can message Autodesk Community Philippines in Meetup. Okay? So, pa-message na lang po sa Meetup kung ano yung um, tawag dito, kung ano yung kulang nyo, kung kailangan nyo ng download link ni AutoCAD or yung exercise file. Okay, so message nyo lang kami sa Meetup and sasagutin namin kayo. Okay, and Saturday daw yung deadline or we'll be having live na lang din for updates. Ayan, tapos ayan no, stay tuned na lang po sa next natin ha, live ng awarding. Tapos, yung mga makakasend ng output, magpaparaffle tayo ng t-shirt na lang ito. So, ito. So, for ano lang to ha, ang makaka-receive nito or yung makakasama sa raffle ng t-shirt is yung may mga output. Okay? So, kung sino yung makakapagpasa ng output, i-raffle natin sila sa ating next live, no? Yan. So, meron tayong dalawang t-shirt dito. Okay. So, stay tuned kayo. I-raffle natin ito. Okay. And, Sir Jomark, may LinkedIn ka pa ba?
Hahabulin, baka magpa-raffle kami, no? Stay tuned po ulit sa Saturday or Sunday. magpaparaffle ulit tayo. LinkedIn might be giving away subscription to LinkedIn Learning. And siguro, patapos na ba tayo, Miss Nancy, di ba?
Yes, sir.
Ito yung reason kung bakit I am requesting everyone to connect with me in LinkedIn. So I'm hoping, FYI, there's a certification exam for AutoCAD. Ayan, so I am informing you about that. And it's an added credential. So parang board exam din siya, magte-take kayo ng exam para masabing certified AutoCAD professional kayo. And again, going back to the reason why I am encouraging everyone to connect with me in LinkedIn is, notice here I can share this course to all of my connections. So thank you for attending week's start to AutoCAD. Ayan. So if you are one of my connections in LinkedIn, makaka-access kayo ng course na yan. So additional supplementary learning sa lahat po ng connections ko natin sa LinkedIn. And also, please connect with Miss Nelsie din in LinkedIn. Okay, to Cassandra and Christian Paul din. So I'm sharing this. Comment down below na lang sa LinkedIn kung na-access nyo, and kung may mobile phone kayo, may app yung LinkedIn Learning, mapapanood nyo din itong course na to sa mga phones nyo. Ayan, yun lang naman. Once more, thank you so much sa lahat ng umattend. Sana po nakatulong, and looking forward din to see you again on our next training. Kahit hindi ako yung taya.
Ayan. Saglit lang, sir. Baka meron tayong dito, Fusion 360 users, Autodesk Fusion 360 users, no? So, mag-invite lang ako. Ayan, baka may gustong mag-join. If we have Fusion 360 users ngayon na nanonood, I am inviting you to join Design Challenge 2020 with Autodesk Fusion 360, no? So dito magde-design kayo ng hand phone stand, no? So terms and conditions po is a student of age 16 and above, maximum of 3 entries per students, no? And then each entry must have a write-up of not more than 100 words on the design, a rendering, animation, and Fusion 360 file. No? So entry larger than 5 MB, please upload and send the link only. Okay, email your entry to design challenge, no? So na-update na po ito, so baka iba yung mabasa nyo, no? So, closing date is 31st of January 2021, no? So, yung prices po niya, ang first price niya is $750. Okay, USD. Second price niya is 500, and then third price is 250. And then five merit price of $100 each. Okay? So, if you're interested to join this competition, inviting you to join us, cadcommunity.asia. Okay? And nandyan din yung link natin. Okay? Nandyan din yung link natin kung paano kayo makakapunta sa ating competition. Okay? Ayan, last question, wala po kaming makuha agad. Yes, bali, ang ating certificate po is, start natin mag-generate next week, no? So, yon, January 18 to 22. Okay? So, we'll be having live stream naman, i-explain ulit natin. So, ang pag-claim nyo kasi ng certificate, ay through the evaluation site of Autodesk. Okay, so sa next live stream natin, i-explain natin kung papaano kayo makakakuha or paano nyo makiklaim yung inyong certificate. So, wag kayong mag-alala pagka sa let's say Monday tayo nag-live, yung week na yon makiklaim nyo kaagad. Kasi pagka nag-evaluate kaagad kayo and na-approve na ni instructor, madali nyo lang yun makukuha. Okay, so mabilis lang po ang process ng certificate. Huwag po kayong mag-alala. So meron lang tayong mga deadlines kasi nagko-close po ang ating course ID. Okay, yung mga ating courses nagko-close po 'yan. O kaya naman yung code para makapag-claim kayo ng certificate, nagko-close 'yan. So, let's say, if sinabi natin na until gantong day lang pwedeng mag-claim, please po mag-claim na po kayo and mag-evaluate. Kasi mga 1 to 2 minutes lang po ang pag-claim ng certificate. Okay? Ano pa bang question? Ayan, si Cass ang makakasagot. Ano pong proof i-attach po namin sa post-evaluation? Cass, naka-mute ka ata.
Hello, okay na po. Bale, screenshot na lang po nung attendance nila sa YouTube Live or selfie, any proof na may timestamp po na umattend sila today. Ayan, thank you.
Ayan. So, ayan. So, ngayon, close na natin ang ating registration. Ayan, close na. So, I think enough na yung time no na binigay natin kanina. Okay. So, yung evaluation natin, stay tuned na lang kayo sa ating mga channels. And then, makikita nyo naman yon sa ating mga pages. Ayan, sa ating group, mag-update tayo sa ating Autodesk Community Philippines na group, sa ating meetup. Magpa-publish ulit tayo ng bagong event. Yun po ay awarding of certificates. Okay? Ayan. So, nasa post-evaluation ata yun, Mark. Ayan, saan isa-send ang pic? I-attach mo lang siguro sa Google Form. Ayan. So, Sir Joe, Mark, may sasabihin ka pa po.
Yun lang, hoping to see you in LinkedIn, and if ever you have questions regarding career then, and if I know career opportunities for you guys, I'd be happy to refer you.
Ayan, so thank you everyone for joining, no. So stay tuned lang po for your certificate. Ayan. Once more, thank you Cassandra and Paul. Ayan, si Isaya, no, and the Association of Safety Practitioners, Mapua University Student Chapter. Ayan. And we are looking forward for our next webinar. Thank you guys and
Thank
bye
you po.
everyone.
Wacom's latest line of interactive pen displays provide a natural and ergonomic way for industrial designers and engineers to work in CAD programs like SolidWorks and Fusion 360. Wacom's new ProPen 3D is designed for CAD modeling and provides the same functionality as a 3-button mouse, opening the door to driving CAD programs on screen for improved comfort and productivity. Working with a pen on screen is more natural and ergonomic than using a mouse and creates an immersive CAD experience as users feel more connected to their work. Wacom devices streamline the design process because they integrate with most design software programs. CAD software titles like SolidWorks recognize pen and touch as an effective way to create 3D geometry, and they continue to implement built-in pen functionality. Fusion 360 is also optimized for pen input and is an efficient and ergonomic way to use Wacom's newest technology. Getting familiar with the Wacom devices will help you dive right into the CAD software and create models with confidence. Most of Wacom's Cintiq Pro displays have built-in multi-touch capabilities and give you full on-screen control using your finger or a Wacom pen device. With these touch features in place, there are tremendous software enhancements that come from touch interactions, producing an interactive and efficient workspace. There's also a convenient digital keyboard that can be brought up on screen. Touch capabilities can be turned on or off, and the display can be moved around to the position and angle you'd like using the different Wacom ergonomic setups, such as the Wacom Flex Arm I'm using here. Speaking of pen devices, the Wacom Pro Pen 3D is a newly designed pen that optimizes the 3D experience with the Cintiq Pro displays. This pen gives you full navigational control in 2D and 3D software in most on-screen applications. There are a few primary controls that make the pen experience natural and comfortable. The tip of the pen is used for clicking on screen, which is the same function as using the left mouse button. The 3 buttons along the side of the pen can have their functions customized for different software titles. The default settings for 3D modeling software are generally set to Rotate for the front button, Pan for the second button, which can also be used to zoom when the button is held and the tip of the pen is dragged on screen, and right-click for the rear button, which can also be used to activate gesture controls on screen. The third Wacom device that enriches the design experience is the Express Key Remote. This is an additional handheld device that allows users to set custom shortcuts and keystrokes in one convenient location. This provides streamlined access to the most commonly used software commands, having different commands assigned to each button per software title. For example, this key here can be assigned to activate the pen command in SolidWorks, while that same button is assigned to activate the circle command in Fusion 360. However, it's important to note that any key on the keyboard can be mapped to any of the keys on the remote, enabling you to customize your workflows to your preference. While this remote is mobile and can be held in hand, it can also be conveniently held on the side of the Cintiq Pro display using built-in magnets. This frees your hands to interact directly with the display while keeping the most important commands close by, activating them in a fraction of a second. Now that you're familiar with the features of these powerful devices, let's look at how they enhance seamless modeling workflows in both SolidWorks and Fusion 360.